Hey everybody, it's Pride Month, as you guys know, which means that we all have to spend this month pretending like sexual degeneracy is normal and acceptable. And if you don't agree with that idea, you are homophobic. Let's talk about homophobia for a second because it's a massive issue that plagues the LGBT community, which of course we know suffers through so much in the modern world. They're just victims of so much oppression and injustice. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, homophobia is such a big issue and totally exists. Yeah, as you can tell, I don't believe that homophobia actually exists. And I know that's a bold claim because saying anything against the alphabet people is considered bold. But let me back it up. Let me explain to you why I think that. How did he do that? So, if we look up the definition of homophobia, it says that it is the dislike of or prejudice against gay people. Now, I don't deny that there can be people who, dislike and hate them and stuff like that. But here's the thing, people who use the term homophobic never actually define what that term means. And so it's it's kind of difficult to pinpoint an objective definition that isn't just a smear, and I'll explain what that means. So these days people will call you homophobic, and again, we've got a definition here. But when you actually ask them, okay, what constitutes this, they'll point out pretty, not very hateful examples, not very prejudiced examples. I mean, saying things like marriages between a man and a woman is considered homophobic, but that's just, what the Christian churches and Christianity itself believes. So to say that, dude, I'm getting cooked in this game. To say that's homophobic is just a way to smear people you don't like who have an opposite opinion of you. Now, am I going to deny that there can be instances when there is genuine like hatred of them in this world? No, I'm not going to deny that because that's absurd. That's a ridiculous claim to make that you would have to go like looking to prove, right? And that's just no way to prove. But also, I mean, things happen to them all the time in other parts of the world where they're not as accepted. The problem that I have with homophobia, the word, is that pretty inoffensive examples, competing belief systems, anything that you say about how children shouldn't be exposed to that kind of stuff, or that even that it's a sexual abnormality and that you shouldn't support it or something like that. That's considered hateful, and that's considered homophobic. And so when you have a word that you use simply to label your opponents with, what we call that is a smear. It's just something to make somebody sound worse than they actually are so that you don't have to engage with them. Like, this is just very common practices. When you don't want to engage with somebody's point, you just slander them and hope that nobody ever, questions your ideas and stuff, and you can just keep hiding behind name calling. So if we have a word that only serves the purpose of name calling, then we don't really have something that actually exists. Sure, you can say, oh, but homophobia does exist, and even you admitted it because you say that people hate gay people. Yeah, they do, but here's the thing. We can just call that hatred and kind of have a good criteria of what it actually means and what is actually hateful and what ends up genuinely harming them. We don't have to create this word that people abuse so that they can smear people with who don't like what they're doing and who aren't with all that agenda. That is why I say homophobia doesn't exist. So before anybody says that, oh, you don't think that gay people face any kind of discrimination, well, no, I never said that. It's just that, number one, the definition of discrimination that you're using, which is the same thing that you're using for homophobia, it isn't actually discrimination, and it doesn't actually constitute anything to, note and care about, and certainly not to shut down. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you think that homophobia does actually exist, and it's homophobic to say that marriage is between a man and a woman. And actually, please say that, because if you say that, you just prove my point that this is just a smear word with no actual basis behind it. So you please say that, because I've had many debates and dialogues with people who've called me that word, and I've told them to define what that means, and every time, without fail, they always say that basically just not being in line with pride, not thinking that we should embrace pride or embrace and treat as normal the desires of gay people, that is considered homophobic to them. So that's just, again, a smear word that means nothing, because if anything can be homophobia that's against you, then nothing is. And I hope that helped you guys. I think that instead of using this term, we should actually establish a good criteria for what actually is hateful and offensive, number one. But two, people who get labeled this term don't care about it. It doesn't matter. They're just showing that they can't argue, they can't actually attack your position, so they have to resort to name calling and labeling, because that's all they can do. So if you're in the position that I'm in, where you get called this constantly, just embrace the label and let them do that, because again, it's an ultimately meaningless word. It's ultimately meaningless label. Homophobia, as it's defined, does not actually exist. It's just a word that people use to label anything they don't like that goes against their agenda, because God forbid anybody want to be against their agenda. All right, with that being said, I hope you like this video, and I hope that this content helps you and at least inspire some kind of discussion. I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, you can watch this. You can watch me get absolutely obliterated in this battle here. Oh, so much fun. Look at this. Look at this. Actually, maybe I might win. Come on. No, I'm not winning. Well, you guys can watch that. It's almost over. Yep, I lose. I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless.